Hello and welcome to A is for Accordion, part of the Collage Alphabet series. I'm collage maker Kelly Schaub and I'm excited to share this video lesson with you today. I have a collection of collage exercises and projects that all use a variety of accordion folds and collage techniques. We're going to start with an accordion collage calendar, which is really 12 mini collages in one, folds up and makes a great little gift. Then we're going to learn how to make faux deckled edges on our papers and create a layered mixed media collage accordion piece. This one has 4 panels on each side and lots of layers. We're going to make an accordion collage and talk about working in series. And we're going to make an accordion book. This one has 7 panels on one side and 4 panels on the back, and folds up into a nice little book. Then we're going to get into some more complicated folds as we create an origami folded collage book. With a series of collages on all of the inner pieces. Isn't that fun? While these projects might not be the most artistic, there is value in experimentation. And I think these projects all make really great small gifts for someone who may not buy a lot of art for their home. But if they're looking at your collage work every day, that might encourage them. You'll find a list of supplies that I'm using and a downloadable outline of today's lesson, along with some templates and instruction sheets. The accordion collage calendar is actually 12 mini collages in one. We'll be making a standing desk calendar using an accordion fold as the basic framework. Make sure to download the calendar PDF files. There's a layout to follow, along with monthly calendars to print and cut out, and some inspirational words if you wish to add them to your calendar layouts. Now we're going to cut the pieces for our accordion collage calendar. I'm starting with a 9 by 12 sheet of 140-pound watercolor paper. I have my paper trimmer here, and I'm going to cut this 5.5 inches by 12 inches. So it's already 12 inches wide, and I want to cut it to 5.5 inches tall. You can make yours taller or shorter than the 5.5 inches, but you'll want it to be 12 inches wide because we have 2-inch sections for each of the months. And our months are going to be January through June on one side and July through December on the other side. And each section is going to be 2 inches wide. So I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to mark off every 2 inches. And you're going to collage over these marks, so pencil, pen, whatever. I'm going to mark it at the bottom as well, every 2 inches. These are where my folds are going to be, and I'm going to collage each 2-inch section and place a monthly calendar on there. Then I'm going to line these up and just draw a line every 2 inches, and then we'll start folding. Okay, for the collage calendar, I'm going to want to fold the first section down. I'm going to line it up, and I'm going to use a bone folder just to make a nice sharp edge. Now we want this to zigzag back and forth, so the next fold is going to go the opposite direction. I'm just going to line that up with my pencil line. Smooth that out. And again, go over it with my bone folder. I'm going to continue the zigzag. This one folds backwards. And you can line it up with your line. Smooth it down with your bone folder and continue on the zigzag fold until you've folded all 6 sections. So this is the folded piece of paper. We have 6 sections on each side. When this is folded up, your facing page is going to be January. And you may wish to write the months onto the sections. January, February, March, April, May, and June. And then, so you're looking at it from one side, and you get to June, and then you flip it over, and this first section on the left is going to be July, August, September, October, November, December. So December is actually the back side of January. Now the reason I wrote these on here, we're going to put a different background on each month, and perhaps you will have a holiday kind of background that you want to use on December, or a summer kind of background and you want it to be on June. That way you know where these backgrounds are going, what month they're going to end up being on. The next thing we're going to do is cut out some backgrounds, and I'm going to attach these with Yes paste. And Yes, if you've never used it, it's like a tub of glue stick. It's very thick, and it's a very strong permanent adhesive. It's acid-free, it is archival, and I use an old hotel key card, but you can use a plastic putty knife or something like that to scoop out the paste, and I'll show you how we're going to apply it in a minute. I've cut some backgrounds. I've cut them a little bit bigger than 2 inches by 5.5 inches. And here's an example of a background that I'm going to want this to go on July, for 4th of July, U.S. Independence Day. I've got fireworks and a U.S. flag here. So I go over to the July section, and I'm going to line this up. I'm going to make sure this is a really straight edge on this end. And so for that, I'm going to actually run it through my little paper cutter. Cut that as straight as possible. And then I'm going to make sure that it is a little bit longer than the actual piece. You can see that there's a little bit of overlap on there. I'm going to leave that, and I'm going to glue it down, and then I'll trim it. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to take the Yes paste, and I'm going to apply it to this July section. And when you apply Yes, it's kind of like putting down plaster or something. You just want to smooth it all over, and you can smooth it both ways. A little bit goes a long way, and I just want to smooth it to all the edges. And I don't know if you can see, but I've got that Yes paste all over that section of July. Here's my straight edge that I just cut, and so I'm going to line it up with the fold. I'm going to make sure I've got a little bit of overlap on the top and the bottom, and then I'm going to smooth that down. And then I'll go back and I will trim along the edge of the watercolor paper. And you could do this on a self-healing mat with an X-Acto knife. I think these are small and manageable enough that you can just go ahead and trim it off with the scissors. I'm going to do the next month and show you how I'm going to line those up. Let me see, what do I want next? I've just got some interesting patterns on paper. I've got some yearbook photos and writing, map pieces, things like that. These are backgrounds, so you don't want them to be overwhelming, but this is kind of a fun piece. And I'm going to trim this edge a little bit closer and make sure it's nice and straight. And then I'm going to make sure I've got a little bit of overlap on the top and the bottom. And I'm going to apply the Yes paste here on the next monthly section. And if it's easier for you to fold that other month back and get it out of your way for right now, you just want to put the glue on this second section. Smooth it all over the place. And you really just need a thin layer. Think of it like a glue stick. You're not going to need to put a lot down, but you want it nice and thin and smooth. I'm going to line this up with the fold. Got a little bit of overlap on the top and the bottom and on this folded edge. So I'm going to smooth this down. I'm going to open it back up, but not all the way. I'm actually going to get a little bit of that Yes paste that got onto the next section. Baby wipes are your friend with glue sticks, medium, the Yes paste. I'm just going to get that off of there. And next I'm going to trim these edges. And like I said, you can use scissors or you could trim this on your self-healing mat with an X-Acto knife, or I use a razor blade often. Now we've got this overlap here over the fold, so I'm going to fold it back and I'm going to trim along the fold, being careful not to cut the paper. And I'm just going to trim that. And that edge actually is going to meet up with the edge of the next month. So we've got two sections here. And you want to keep folding this. It's going to get a little thick in the center fold. You're going to have 2 more layers of paper on here on each side. But basically that's how you're going to continue. You're going to pick your next image, and glue it down, cut it out. And as you're placing your images, also keep in mind that we're going to be putting the month, the calendar, and you could place yours anywhere. On my sample here, I have the months placed at the top of each panel. And so if I'm putting an image on the background, I may not want a very important part of the image to be hidden from that calendar piece. So go ahead and put your backgrounds on both sides of your accordion fold. So you're going to have 12 different backgrounds. And then the next step is going to be to print out the calendars for whatever year you want to make your accordion calendar for. Trim those up, and I would put these on with the Yes paste again or your favorite medium. You're going to want to next go ahead and embellish your backgrounds. In this sample, I've just got a couple little images to break up those backgrounds, and then I've got a series of words. And what you want with this calendar is something perhaps to inspire someone. They make great gifts. You can fold them up and show people the January. I make these as stocking stuffers every year and fold them up, and then I'll put a little tag with a ribbon or a piece of twine around it, and I'll put the year 2020 or whatever year on the tag. As far as the words go, I've given you a download with some words that you may wish to print and cut out, but I would go out on a hunt for inspiring words in your source materials, cut them out, or in this case, this was actually a piece of magnetic poetry, the Explore, and I glued that down. Create 12 unique backgrounds. Add some collage imagery to each background. Print the 12 calendar months out, cut them out, and place them on your collage. Then add some inspiring words. For a great gift idea, fold your accordion collage calendar up, create a tag with the year, and attach it to the calendar with ribbon or twine. Now I'm going to take this mixed media collage piece that we've created. This was with our deckled edges, and I'm going to fold it into an accordion book. First of all, I'm going to just fold it in half. I'm going to smooth that edge with my bone folder so I've got a nice crisp edge. And then I'm going to fold this backwards in a zigzag fashion. And again, smooth with my bone folder. And I will fold this section back to the edge and smooth that as well. So what I have here now is 4 panels on one side and 4 panels on the other. We'll stand up and you can see one side or the other. For a little added embellishment, since we have these lovely deckled edges on our paper, I'm going to take a stamp pad and I'm going to go over those edges so that we really see them. And I'm going to do it on all the edges and on both sides. You can see this nice rough edge. At this point, when you finish edging it, I've also finished the surface with a workable fixative because I'd used some pastels and some other things that might have run or smeared. So I used a workable fixative, and once that was dried, I sprayed it with a clear coat finish. And notice how I've got these edges just fading into the color, but just really bringing out these nice rough edges all the way around on both sides of the piece, because unlike a normal collage, you can look at this from both directions. Next steps are up to you if you wish to add more to these pages. If you wish to collage, add some poetry, writing, but you've got 8 panels of mixed media collage layers in this accordion book. Can't wait to see what you've created. For our next accordion collage, decide on a panel size and number of panels. Then choose one of the following. You could create a narrative throughout the accordion. You can create a continuous collage over all of the panels, or you can create a series of collages, one on each panel. Why I encourage you to work in series. This is going to allow you to explore themes, subject matter, style, technique, color palettes, or composition. When working in series, find a subject or style or technique that you're passionate about. Be open to variations on a theme. Successful pieces in a series work well alone while also relating to the others in the series. These 5 images are from a series I created called Fish Tales, where I took vintage gals and gave them all fish tails. These 12 pieces are from a series I created called Get in Line. They all use similar materials and similar compositional elements. Next, we'll create an accordion book. This will be a 6-panel accordion. 6 panels will appear on the front and 4 panels will appear on the back because we'll have cardboard covers attached to the back to create the book. Arnold Grummer's zigzag books I was going to recommend, but the paper is a little thin for collage, so you may wish to use watercolor paper for this instead. Accordion book, decide on your panel size. Cut your paper big enough for 6 panels. Fold your accordion and then cut your cardboard for 2 covers, front and back. Cut the cardboard a little bit larger than your panel and then wrap your cardboard covering with paper using double stick tape as in the illustrations. Once you've completed the collages on 6 front panels and 4 back panels, you'll fold your book back together, and I used PVA glue to attach the covers to the front and back. If you'd like a ribbon to tie the book together, you'll want to glue your ribbon down to the back of your panels before you attach the cardboard cover on the back. You'll be using this same kind of cardboard cover for the origami folded collage book. Download the pattern for the origami fold collage book and then follow along in the next video. I used 3 sheets of black cardstock cut to 8.5 by 8.5 inches. I then used 4 squares of watercolor paper at 4 inches by 4 inches, and then 6 additional squares 4 inches by 4 inches that were cut diagonally into 12 triangles. You'll also want to cut 2 covers from cardboard or mat board that are slightly larger than your book. A couple years ago, I came across this really fun origami folded blank book. You can see it opens just a series of squares and triangles and then folds right back up into a nice little square book. I tried to source the blank book and couldn't find anyone that was still making them, and so I figured out a way to create my own. I'm going to be using black cardstock for this, but you can use any kind of cardstock or watercolor paper, just something heavy enough to hold some folds. This is 8.5 by 11 inches, and so I want to cut it into a square. You can use any size square that you want. I'm going to make this 8.5 by 8.5 and cut it on my paper trimmer. And you're going to want to cut 3 squares. This is 8.5 by 8.5, and I've got 3 squares of black cardstock. In the first fold, is going to be over, just folding it in half, making it into a rectangle. I'm going to use my bone folder to make that a nice crisp fold. I'm going to open it back up again, and I'm going to turn it, and I'm going to fold it in half a second time. Line it up really good. Smooth that out with your bone folder. So now I have a piece that is folded in half both ways. The next step is to turn your paper over so the folds are away from you, and we're going to fold it into a triangle. So down the diagonal center, and I'm going to smooth that with my bone folder. And so when I open this back up again, if I go back to the original fold lines, it will fold like that, and it'll fold into a little square. So basically your fold on the diagonal, those two corners come together, and then your other two corners that don't have the triangular fold will come together. I'm going to make 3 of these out of squares, and then we are going to assemble them. Now, these two are lined up the same way. They both fold in the same way with our triangular section at the top. I'm going to line them up like that, but I'm going to flip the one that's going in the center over. And so I'm going to glue those two squares together. One has the triangle part coming towards me, one has the triangle part going away from me. But the important part is that center fold that makes the triangle is going up and down. I'm just going to use a glue stick and attach these two. And I want them to fold freely, so I'm going to line up these squares, and the paper on top is just going to be just inside of the fold, so it fits in there nice and snug. Smooth that down, then fold a third piece. This one's coming towards me, so the third piece will be going away. When you have your 3 pieces together, this is what it's going to look like. And it's all going to fold compactly. Next, we'll go ahead and we'll attach a cover on the front and the back. And then we're going to cut out, I'm going to measure these squares, and I'm going to cut out watercolor paper that's going to be a little bit smaller than this square. This square is 4 inches, about 4 1/8 inches. So I'm going to cut 4 inch by 4 inch squares to go on all the square portions. And then I'm going to take those 4 inch by 4 inch squares, and I'm also going to cut a diagonal so that I'm creating a triangular piece to go on those folds. At this point, I'm going to cut a series of squares, and then I'm going to cut some of them into triangles. My piece is 8.5 by 8.5, so the inside is 4 1/4 inches. So I cut the watercolor paper to 4 inches by 4 inches and place them in all of the square sections. And just glued that down, and then I took another 4 by 4, cut it in half, and I've glued that to one of the triangular sections of the book. Using 3 pieces of cardstock, the 8.5 by 8.5, you end up with 4 full squares and then 6 squares that you'll cut into triangles. That's for each side of your origami structure. You may wish to also use the back side, and so for a 3-piece origami structure, you would need 8 of the square pieces and 12 of the triangular pieces. At this point, it's up to you whether you want to create a series of small collages on these squares and triangles and then place them into the origami sculpture backing, or you can go ahead and glue down your squares and your triangles and then create your collages. I kind of prefer to create a series of the small collages on the squares and the triangles, and then choose the placement and the direction that I want to glue them down.